So now, as I discussed, let's learn about the blockchain. Like we will go step by step. Like what is the blockchain? Why we need to go for blockchain? And how the blockchain is used and where are we going to use the blockchain. So everything we are going to see in a step-by-step manner. So, so here the first thing we are going to see is what the blockchain is. So the blockchain is the ledger of facts replicated across several computers assembled in a peer-to-peer network. So what does it mean by the ledger of facts? So it means that we are making a ledger or we are making a bookkeeping of all the transactions. So you might ask, we already have the database, then why do we need to go for the blockchain? The main difference between the database and the blockchain is, in the blockchain, you can just add the records or add the transactions. You cannot update the already added transactions, or you cannot edit or you cannot delete the already added transactions. But in the database, if say a DBA or if someone who has the access capacity or the authority to modify the transactions, they can modify, they can edit, they can update, they can delete, they can do whatever absurd, they can do whatever the transactions you want in the database. You can edit the transactions in the database. Not only like a DBA, even your coding also, through your code also you can edit your transactions. So this is the major advantage or major difference between your blockchain and your database. You cannot edit or you cannot do anything as you do in your traditional database. Whereas blockchain, you are going to add the transactions into that as the records, and these transactions are going to remain as the permanent transactions. You are not going to do any modifications or anything. So that is where the blockchain came into picture. So now you understand what the blockchain is, why we need to go for a blockchain, what is the major advantage, or what is the difference between your blockchain and your database. Next important thing is facts can be anything from monetary transactions to content signature. The reason why I've specified this point is whenever I talk about the blockchain, people generally deal or relate the blockchain with the monetary transactions only, like the cryptocurrency transactions. But blockchain is not just related to your cryptocurrency transactions or the monetary transactions. You can do many things with the blockchain. Even the non-monetary transactions also you can store. So that's why I said like a blockchain can be anything. The facts can be anything. You can store any kind of transactions starting from your monetary to your content signature. Everything can be stored in the blockchain. Next, the members of the network are anonymous individuals called nodes, because each in the blockchain, each node is it's called as an individual member. The nodes can be your computers or can be the network, can be the peers on your network. So many things can be called as the nodes. So those are all like anonymous because you don't know who is actually a part of your blockchain, who are all sharing your blockchain. You don't know about that. So that's why it's called the anonymous individual. So we usually in the blockchain technology we call that as the nodes. So this is all about what the blockchain is. Next we will see what are the major components in the blockchain. The first important thing is you need to know about the block. The block is nothing but a record. Each and every record is called as a block. And the records, suppose this is one record, the record 1, record 2, record 3. So nothing but the block 1, block 2, block 3. So a chain is formed by connecting or interlinking all the blocks using the secure cryptography. So each chain is linking, this linking is done with the secure cryptography. So this kind of chain is called as a blockchain. All your blocks are chained or linked using some cryptography, a secure cryptography or the channel. So that is why it is called as a block. And what are the major components in the block? So if you take block 1, each block will contain some information. So that information is called as a, it contains some information. So the part of them are called as a transaction data, nonce, previous, hash, and timestamp. So we are going to see each and everything, like what is the transaction data, what is the nonce, what is the previous hash, why do we store for the previous hash, and what is the timestamp. So everything we are going to see. The first one is the transaction hash. The transaction hash is the transaction data. So whenever you are making the transaction, your data is stored in the form of the Merkle tree. So another important concept that we need to learn in the blockchain is the Merkle tree. What this Merkle tree is all about. So you don't have to think it in a complex manner. Just in a cut short, you can say your data is actually stored in a tree form. So which a blockchain is understands it. So that tree is called a Merkle tree in a very simple form. In a very simple language, I'm telling you. So you don't want to think more about the Merkle tree or how the Merkle tree is formed. So we don't want to think or go deep into that concept, because when we enter deep into that, it's going to be a very another important another huge concept, I can say. So, but as the developer, because whatever I'm telling here is from the developer point of view, not like Ethereum or a blockchain. If you want to create your own blockchain environment, say like Ethereum environment or the Hyperledger environment or like R3 Corda environment, then we need to go deep into this kind of algorithms, like what the Merkle tree will do, what is the cryptographic algorithm, what is the hashing algorithm, how to create your hash, how to create the signature, how to create a SHA algorithm, or the encryption or decryption algorithm. So everything we can discuss, but that is again a very big topic to discuss on. So as a developer, my main focus here is to understand, to make you as a blockchain developer, so that you can all create a new applications, a very challenging applications on the blockchain. You don't have to worry about the internal, how the blocks are created, or how the data is stored in the Merkle tree, or what is the each block will do, what is the block number will do. So everything, how the block number is generated. So we don't want to go deep into that matter, because that is again a huge vast topic to discuss on. So here, just remember that whatever your transactions, everything is stored in the Merkle tree. Merkle tree is nothing but it's a type of the tree data structure, where all your left nodes, or it's something like where your hash of your data will be stored in the tree format. So that is what the Merkle tree is. So once you are after that Merkle tree, after the transaction data, one more important concept in your blockchain, in the block, is the nonce. So each block will contain some nonce value. So nonce is not any, what do you say? It's not a, it's not having any particular importance, or you cannot say it is created in a sequence. It is just an arbitrary number, and this number may only be used once, just to make sure, okay, this is a random number that is generated, and it is created like a, so this is mainly used to make sure that no replay attacks have been done on your blockchain or in your block. So that's why the nonce is mainly used. So nonce is just the very, it's just a pseudo random number that is generated. So I hope you understand about the nonce. So nonce transaction data is, those are like nothing to have. Oh, sorry, I skipped the previous one. Okay, oops. Okay, the next important thing that we need to discuss about the previous hash. So in the each block, block A, say block B will be containing, suppose your blockchain is having the A, B, C, D. Suppose. So this is your block 1, block 2, and this is your block 3. So each block will contain your, say this block will contain your transaction data, your nonce, your timestamp, and your previous hash. So these are the things that are stored in each block. So when block 1 is moving to the block 2, block 1 is called as the initial block, which is also called as the genesis block. So the main difference between your genesis block and other blocks is the genesis block. For the genesis block, your previous hash will be 0 or can be the same as your current block hash. So the block 2 will contain the hash of the block 1. So block 3 will contain the hash of the block 2. So the reason why let me clear this one. So the reason why we need these previous hashes is like, suppose the chain, suppose if a person say 1 is connected to 2 is connected to 3. So this is the previous hash, say 1 hash 1 hash 2 hash 3. Okay, so when hash 1 is connected to hash 2, or block 1 is connected to block 2, this block will have h1, the previous block's hash. Similarly, the block 3 will have the hash h2, the previous block's hash. Suppose a person is making a changes, or our attacker is going to change the data in your block 2. So this hash h2, the hash that is generated with your data, it's no more the h2, but a new hash, say h21, will be generated. So when this is generated, when you are going to create a block, this hash will be compared to this hash. The block 3 will be having the hash as h2, but block 2 is having the hash as h21. So h21, but block 3 is having the hash of h2, which means your block is disrupted now, or someone has attacked your data, someone has attacked the block or changed the data. So which means your whole block is now reusable, or someone's already tried to change your block. So in this way, you know whether your block has been changed or modified by someone, or it's not modified, it's actually a correct block. So we know more about this, what the previous hash will do and everything in a real time scenario. I will be showing you about what is the use of previous hash, because this concept is really very important. This concept is really very important to understand, uh, to understand about the blockchain technology. Previous hash is really an important topic. So the next one is, which we have in the blockchain, is the timestamp. The timestamp is mostly used to describe when the particular transaction has happened on your blockchain. So this timestamp is also very, very important, because suppose if you want to change, if someone, say suppose you're making a uh, one transaction, T1 transaction, which is stored in this block B1 at the time 1 o'clock. So the next block, whenever it is created, the transaction T2 is going to create in the block B2 will be at the time greater than 1. So you mean that once transaction 1 is done, then it is going to the transaction 2. So that is the reason for making the timestamp to show how synchronously or how in sequence all your data or all your transactions are being done on the blockchain. So this is also a very important concept. So now many might ask the question, so can attackers change the timestamp? Yes, attackers can change the timestamp, but as I said, the timestamp 1 or the block 1's timestamp should also always be the greater than the remaining other blocks timestamp. So if you want to change the timestamp, it is not going, you are not actually modifying the data, and people also feel that it's not up. So that's why people generally never try to alter the timestamp, because altering the timestamp is just a time waste and there is no much use on altering the timestamp also. So that's why people never go for altering the timestamps. So in the next videos, we are going to see about what is the use of blockchain and the history of blockchain, where are we going to use the blockchain and everything. So in the last tutorial, we have seen what the blockchain is. So we have gone deep into what is the blockchain, what is the block, and what are all the elements we have got in the block, like the transaction data, nonce, previous hash, timestamp. We have seen about the transaction hash, transaction data, the nonce, which is just the pseudo random number to uniquely identify, to uh, just to minimize the replay attacks. And then we have seen what is the use of previous hash, why are we storing the previous hash, and then we have seen about the timestamp. Now let's see about what is the history of the blockchain. The history of the blockchain is also a very important thing. So initially, when the Bitcoin came into picture, Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies, only then people start off or thinking about the blockchain technology. Until then, people are not aware of what the blockchain or anything. So after Bitcoin came into existence and became popular, then people thought of going back and looking into what is the technology behind the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrencies. That is where they came to know about the blockchain technology. So the blockchain, the initial versions are like you have the version 1, 2, 3, and X. So the version 1 is like an initial version, which I have already said, it is all about the bitcoins or the cryptocurrencies. And then on version 2 and the version 3, people started using or people started thinking about the blockchain beyond the cryptocurrencies. They thought of using the blockchain for their financial applications, for their health related applications, for storing the media related files, for storing the government files and everything. So that is what now the 2 and 3 versions are now the present blockchain versions, I can say. So people started using their blockchain for like financial applications on the financial domain, on the banking domain, on the insurance domain, on the healthcare domain, on the government regulations domain. So there are so many domains people have started thinking about the usage of blockchain, how blockchain actually fits into their requirement. Then the future generation, it's generation X or the blockchain X. It's available like a Google search engine. Who knows? Tomorrow, someone might create the Google search engine similar to the Google search engine in the blockchain technology, and that can hit the world one day. So, or might be Google is also might be interested in doing or investing into the blockchain for their search engines. So those are all like a future, like the future will be full of the blockchain technologies. So this is what the history about the blockchain is. Now let's look into why we are going for a blockchain, why people are showing so much interest on the blockchain. The reason is, one important reason is the peer-to-peer transaction and there is no middleman. So you can say there is no middleman attack. So the blockchain is usually called as a trustless network or trustless. Blockchain is really a trustless because here we are not going to trust any middleman. There is no concept like administrator or some user who has given a full authority to a certain servers or certain database or anything. So we used to say blockchain is a trustless, which means there is no trust on anyone, which means you can trust your code. The smart contract is the only code, and you can trust the code for any reasons at any time. But we cannot trust anyone on every time. So that's why the main reason why we are going for blockchain is there is a no middleman and it's a peer-to-peer transaction. which means even if one node, if a block in one node has been altered, say in a network there are 100 nodes. So suppose a block in one node is, a block in a node is or in a peer is altered, then the remaining 99 is going to tell you that this block is altered. So someone has attacked your block. So which means you are going to say, or you're going to get that your block has been altered by someone. So you know whether your block is or your data is altered or not. So it's free of the peer-to-peer transactions. And one more important thing is, it's the blockchain is not really very expensive. You can easily implement the blockchain, and there are many open sources that are available to implement the code, or to implement your applications on the blockchain. So the blockchain is really not an expensive one, and it's very instant. So whenever you want to get the data, you don't have to wait for a long time. Whenever you send a request, you will be getting the response in instantly. So that is the main reason people started thinking of going to the blockchain technologies. And then we are going to see, sorry, and then we are going to see what is the use of blockchain, like why or how we are going to, how the blockchain is actually implemented, like what are the consensus mechanisms in the blockchain. So before going deep into the consensus mechanism, we first need to know what does it mean. What is the consensus mechanism mean? The consensus is nothing but a method to authenticate or to validate a transaction that is made on the blockchain. So since here you're not going to trust any person or any third party member, so it's everything, it's a code. It's your smart contract is going to do that. So consensus mechanism is nothing but you're validating or authorizing or authenticating your transactions on the block with your code. So without depending on any central authority. So that is what the consensus mechanism is all about. And if you see, there are two major consensus mechanisms available. One is proof of work and proof of stake. So we will see what is the difference between proof of work and proof of stake, and what the Bitcoin is currently using, and what Ethereum is currently using. So currently, uh, I will explain about proof of work or proof of stake deep in the coming sections. But currently, let's see, the Bitcoin is using the proof of work, and Ethereum is also using the proof of work. But now Ethereum was going to use, or moving away from the proof of work, and they are planning to implement the proof of stake mechanism. So we will see what these two consensus mechanisms are all about. So before that, we need to know about mining. So mining is also a very important concept in the blockchain. So mining is nothing but your computational power, how much of the computational power you are using to mine each block or to generate the block in the blockchain. See, whenever the blocks are generated, the process of generating the block in the blockchain is called as the mining in a simple word. So, so that's why how people are creating the blocks. So the main concept behind the creation of the block is the mining. So you have to remember the mining is nothing but the generation of the or creation of the block in the blockchain is called as a mining. So here in the mining only our consensus protocols or mechanisms comes into picture, and you can mine the block using your proof of work or proof of stake protocols. So we will see what does the proof of work or proof of stake will actually do. Okay, so this is the proof of work, difference between your proof of work and proof of stake. So the proof of work is nothing but there is a complex algorithm. Usually to mine the each block, there will be one complex algorithm. The miners who is going to solve the complex algorithm, they are going to create the new block, and they will be getting some mining points or some ethers deposited into that account. So it's nothing but the is solving mathematical problem or the complex algorithm is what the basic thing behind the proof of work. So in the proof of work, we are going to solve a complex algorithm. But in the proof of stake, it is not here. We are not going to solve any complex algorithms or nothing. No, we are not going to do anything. So it depends upon the creator, whoever is going to create a new block, is chosen in a deterministic way, which is depends upon the wealth or also called as a stake. So whoever is having the highest stake or the wealth, they are given the prior chance or the first chance to create the block. So that's why if you see here in the differences, you can see the proof of work is the requirement to define an expensive computer calculation or called as a mining. So whenever you're going to solve any complex algorithm, so then you are going to create your block. So whenever whoever is first going to create a block, they will be giving some mines deposited into their account. So, but in the proof of stake, there is no such rewards given to the miners, but it just totally depends upon the whoever on the block on the blockchain or on the network is having the highest wealth of the stake. They are the one who is uh, going to create a new block. So this is the major difference between your proof of work and the proof of stake. So now we have seen about what the blockchain is, why the blockchain, and how the blockchain is created, how the blocks are actually created using the blockchain. And then we are going to see where this blockchain is actually used. So this is also one of the important concept to know about. So the blockchain is used in many domains, as I said earlier. So people started thinking about using the blockchain on the financial domain, or the insurance domain, or the forecasting domain, or on the healthcare domain, or on the cybersecurity domain, or on something like government domain, like government regulation domains, like voting. So already I think in San Francisco or in some area, the government has already implemented the blockchain as not the implementer has already conducted the blockchain related voting system. So even though that is, I won't say it is 100% successful, but at least it is a starting point. So because of this voting, no one can alter your votes in the if you consider about the voting scenario. It's because it's a very simple scenario to understand about the blockchain. So before there are so many voting systems available. So initially we have a ballot votes. So ballot is nothing but the paper votes, where people goes to a voting center and there will be some papers. The voting receipts or the ballots will be available, and each and everyone will pinch their vote on the ballots. The next thing arises the electronic voting. The electronic voting in the sense of people usually votes in the computerized manner, and then third or now the rising thing is the blockchain voting. So we will be looking into this voting applications also while creating the DApps and the smart contracts. But before that, let's just understand what this voting is all about. Why we are going for the ballot, why the ballot is not successful, electronic is not successful, and why people are thinking about the blockchain now. So when you ask about the ballot, see, initially when there was a ballot voting, the people manually count the vote. So there will be uh, counting problem. If someone has manually counted votes, so someone can miss the votes, or like the manual whatever we do manually, it's not 100% right on all the time. So there will be some mismatch, or some errors will be there. So that's why people are not liking to go for the ballot voting. Next, there is the electronic voting, which means people used to say that the electronic voting is the safest. But later people came to know this is also not the safest because whoever is having the administrators, it's just the program. So even when a person say A, B, C, so I can have the code even if a person now clicks on B, that vote can go to A. Even if a person click on C, I can make a program that the vote can go to A. So whoever the person is clicking, suppose B or C, instead of sending the votes to B or C, I can make a program that sends every vote to A. So which means your electronic voting is also not the safest one. So then comes into the picture of the blockchain. You might ask, you can have the smart contract to behave like a same. Yes, but we can also maintain the visibility to make sure who are we going to vote and what is the current vote count. Everything we can make that. We can make everything as a visible in the blockchain. So that's why this blockchain is the evolving. So that's why the people I started thinking about using blockchain not only just this voting, but similarly in the financial or in cyber security or in the forecasting, healthcare, insurance, or in all the fields. We will be seeing how each and every field, how we can implement the blockchain in each and every field. Everything we are going to see in our future videos or in the future sections. So this is what the major advantages of going for the blockchain. So suppose if it is the financial say the main problem with the financial is a bankruptcy because some banks used to give loans to some people and they may not repay it or they are not making a proper ledger to who suppose if the bank manager is closer to someone they can alter the ledger and alter the accounts. So in the financial sector, we can avoid bankruptcy by using a blockchain technology. So similarly, in the cyber security, we know like who is accessing which network and everything we can keep track in the cyber security. Similarly, in the forecasting, we know based upon the predictions or based upon the past data, we can predict what is going to be happening in the future data because blockchain will give you all your transactions are going to be stored in the blockchain. So with the previous transactions we can predict what is going to happen in the future. So that is where we can use this blockchain is on the predictions or the forecasting. Healthcare to store the medical history of all the patients or their health information, everything can be stored in the healthcare. Similarly, in the insurance or in the smart properties, like to buy or sell any properties, also we can have the blockchain technology behind that. So so the major problem with the say suppose the land registration. So in many countries, they are facing the problem like one land is registered to two or more people. So which means that A is registering land to B, C, D, just to make money. A is making the money with this. So when you go for this blockchain, sorry, not the smart property, when you go for this blockchain technology, what will happen is, so when A is making the transaction to B, we are making sure that A has already sent sorry that we are making sure that A has already sold the property to B. Now A is no more the owner of the property. Now B is the owner of the property, and from A to C again you cannot make any transactions. So that is where the blockchain is used in the land registration and all. So we will see each and every scenario in detail, and we are going to see many DApp applications, how to create the DApp application for each and every scenario, and also we are going to see how to create a DApp application for each and every domain also with the sample applications. So now in this section of the tutorial, we are going to see some of other basic concepts in the blockchain, like what is the network concept we are using in the blockchain, what is about the cryptocurrencies, because blockchain is very famous with the cryptocurrency evolution. Then what is the difference between the Bitcoin and Ethereum? Because Bitcoin and Ethereum are two major cryptocurrencies that are currently in the market. So we will see what is the major difference between the Bitcoin and the Ethereum. And then we will quickly jump into the e-commerce example, how people can use the blockchain in their e-commerce example, and what is the current how current e-commerce system is working, and what will be the future e-commerce system when we implement the blockchain technology in that. So now we'll just quickly jump into the each and every concepts in the blockchain. So we'll understand everything in detail. So the first one we are going to see about the network. So, what is the current network? What is the current World Wide Web, or WWW, which is your World Wide Web, is currently using? And what is the peer-to-peer network? So, the blockchain is fully of the peer-to-peer network. And currently, our websites and everything, we are following the World Wide Web. In the World Wide Web, we have the centralized server, and all the requests from the computers or the clients will be sent to one centralized server, and we will be getting the response back from that centralized server. So if suppose the centralized server fails, then no system can communicate with all the clients, you know, they can never communicate with this centralized system. So that is the major disadvantage in our current client server model. So the next one, which is at the back of the blockchain technology, is the peer-to-peer network or the mesh network. So if someone asks you what is the difference, different networks that are available, you can say like a centralized network and a decentralized network, or the peer-to-peer network or mesh network. So these are all the type of networks that are available in our uh, current technology. So the peer-to-peer network, what is peer-to-peer network means that each peer or each server in or each computer in the node or in the network it acts like a server. So everyone will have the copy of data. So if one server fails, if suppose this server fails, then you can retrieve the data again from this server or the peer servers. So that is the major advantage of the peer-to-peer network. So there is no point of failure here in the peer-to-peer network. Let me add it. So no point of failure in the peer-to-peer network. So every no point of altering the data also, because if say every data is every peers will be having the copy of the data. So even if one system is altered, you cannot alter all the systems in the network, which is totally impossible. Possibly in our what do you say, in the PPT is just the 5 to 6 peers, but in the actual scenario it's not just the 5 to 6 peers. There will be so many thousands or millions of peers are there in the network, so we cannot alter each and every peer, which is very impossible to do that. So that is the main concept of the peer-to-peer network, which is highly secured and no point of failure, and you don't have to trust anyone, because each server is having their copy of the data, and it's impossible to alter the data and everything. So that's why people have started going for the peer-to-peer network. Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's why people started going for the peer-to-peer network. Now we will understand like okay, this is the peer-to-peer network, this is the worldwide is working. So now let's see about what the centralized network is, what about the distributed network is, and what is the decentralized network is. So our blockchain is fully based upon this decentralized network. So nothing is centralized. But the traditional client server model is the centralized one. So all the requests will be sent to one central server, and if this central server fails, you cannot send or get any request or response from the server. So your application, all the client application needs to wait until this main server is running up. So that is the main, and anyone can easily hack this main server because just the one server, any attacker can directly go to this server and hack this server or alter the data in this server. So that is the major disadvantages in your centralized server. The next is a distributed server. Okay, before coming into the distributed server, we will see about what is the decentralized server. Decentralized server in the sense, not there is no one system which is called as a centralized server. All the systems in the peer are called as a decentralized. All the peers in the network are called as a servers. So you cannot say that one is the server and remaining n systems are the client, but here all n plus 1 systems are the servers as well as the clients. So that is the main advantage of the decentralized server. So there is no point of failure. Even if one system is failed, you can retrieve the data from the next system. So this another important concept is everything is in the chronological order. What do you mean by chronological order? Let me explain you. So suppose this is node A and this is node B. First whatever the transactions are doing, node A will be sent to node B, then node C, then node D. So everything in the chronological order, your transactions will be stored. So that is the major advantage of the decentralized server. What do you mean by distributed network? In the distributed network, say you have a data. So what you're going to do in the distributed network is you're going to split the data into sub-datas, and each sub-data will be stored in one network. So that is what a distributed network is. You're not going to have as such the copy of this, your original data in all the nodes, but you're going to reduce, it's like what you say, reduce mapping algorithm we use. We are going to cut down your data into modules or the applications into the modules, and each module will be running into the different servers. So that is what your distributed server is. But in the decentralized server, we are not going to, what you say, you're not going to split the data, you're not going to send a part, or you're not going to set A data into this server, B data into this server, C data into this server, D data into this, or what you say, A1, A2, A3, A4 data in one service. We are not going to distribute our data like this. But in the decentralized server, so all the elements or all the transactions, all the data related to A will be stored in all the nodes. So every node will have the copy of the data related to A. It's not like splitting the data A into A1, A2, A3, but every node will have the copy of data A. So which means that even if someone is trying to modify the value in the transactions or the records of A here, they cannot modify uh, in all the other nodes. So that is the major advantage of your decentralized server. So hope now you got the difference between your centralized, distributed as well as the decentralized network. And the main thing is the centralized network is since it's a one centralized server, anyone can hack the server anytime. Here in the distributor, you're not storing the copy of all the data, all the transactions, all the records in all the servers, but we are going to reduce the data and store the copy of what do you say, not like a copy, but you are going to split the data into sub data and going to store each sub data in one server. So that is the distributor server. But even here there is a point of failure. If one of the server is failed, then you cannot get the data from that server. So but in the decentralized server, all your nodes is going to act like a server. So you will be having the copy in each and every thing. You are going to have the copy of the data. So that's the major advantage of your decentralized server, and that is the concept behind your blockchain. So your blockchain is also working in the decentralized server manner. So which is a very important concept in the in our blockchain technology. So in the last video we have seen about the network protocols. We have seen something like what are the type of networks that are available. Currently we are using the peer-to-peer network and the world wide web. So world wide web is based upon the your client server architecture, and peer-to-peer is where all your peers have been interconnected. The next we have seen about the type of network protocols. We have the centralized, distributed, as well as the sorry we have centralized, distributed, as well as the decentralized network. So now we are going to see an example of how what is the problem with your distributed ledger, and why we are going for the decentralized ledger or decentralized network. So this is your distributed network where, say, for each party, say for example, this is your bank or financial network. So for each financial network, say for each person, like party A, party B, party C, party D. So for each and every party, a ledger is maintained on their side. So the party A will be having its A's ledger, party B will be having its B's ledger, C will be having its C's ledger, and so on. And similarly, the auditing will be having their own ledger, and bank records will be maintaining their own ledger. So the problem with this kind of architecture or scenario is every time when suppose A is transferring funds to B or to C, or any transaction is making, we need to always what do you say, to trust the ownership, or to check the ownership and trust the transfers in the network. So whenever if you are making a transaction, the bank has to trust you as well as you have to trust the bank. So that is what the problem with the that is what the current distributed ledger is, and this is the problem. Suppose if A is not the right person, then we don't know whether someone impersonate as A and can make the transactions or can alter the ledger. So the solution for this is we are going for the decentralized one. What does it mean by decentralized? Instead of having party A storing just the party A's ledger, it will store multiple ledgers. The ledgers are shared among all the members. So A will be having A's ledger, B's ledger, C's ledger, and similarly B is having the multiple ledger of all the parties in the transaction in the network. Similarly, C will also be having all the ledgers of all the parties in the network. So what does it mean by it? So the participants will have the multiple shared ledgers. So whenever a person is sharing, whether the ledger is altered, or is it not replicated, or is it a permission. So you can verify everything, you can trust everything on this decentralized network. The another advantages of the decentralized network is all these 4 points: consensus, provenance, immutability, and finality. Finality in the sense it's a final, no changes has been made. Immutable, no one can change your messages or change or alter the transaction. So it is immutable, it is non-changeable, no one can change it. Provenance, you can prove for every transaction. There is a proof is there for every transaction. So, and which means that if you are making a transaction to someone else, those transactions are stored in the ledger as the proof, so you don't have to worry about that. So it means that you are the only person who is going to make the transaction. And consensus is nothing but similar to provenance. For every transaction we are making a consensus, or we are making your block is created for your own transactions. So that transaction is always stored in multiple accounts. It's not just only one block is having the transaction, but multiple blocks will be not like multiple blocks, but multiple blockchains will have that same block, so no one can alter your transaction. So those are all the advantages of going for your decentralized network. Hi. So in the last video, we have seen about the network. We have seen about the type of networks, network protocol that we currently have. People go for the distributed network or centralized network, and one more thing is the decentralized network. We have seen what are the advantages and disadvantages of going for the centralized as well as the distributed network, and what is the advantage of going for the decentralized network. So in this section, we are going to say about the cryptocurrency. So what is actually the cryptocurrency is? It is nothing but a virtual money or the digital money. You cannot touch it, you cannot feel it, but you can use that as for your online transactions. So that is what the cryptocurrency is. The Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency. People initially used Bitcoins or the cryptocurrency for the illegal transactions, like for buying or selling the drugs. So, though for those kind of transactions, people were using the cryptocurrency. But once Bitcoin has came into the picture and become very famous, people have started thinking about or talking about the technology behind the Bitcoin, and that is where the blockchain technology came into the picture. People really started to know about the blockchain technology. So the cryptocurrency is nothing but you don't have to think the cryptocurrency is something very large. No, it's just a token, encrypted token or some hashed token. So that's all cryptocurrency, nothing is there. And why, what is the use of cryptocurrency is, one thing is government cannot control it, because government cannot track. If you have this much of cryptocurrencies on your account, government cannot track that this person A is having this much of cryptocurrency which is equivalent to this much value, so his property value is equivalent to this. Government cannot track that. So you don't have to worry if there will be a government audit or anything. So no government can track it and no government can control it, because it's just the community that controls it, or the creator of the cryptocurrency can control it, and nothing in the hands of the government. And today, every company, I mean, if you see many startup companies, they wanted to invest on the cryptocurrencies. They wanted to create their own ICOs. They wanted to open up for the crowdfunding. So we will be seeing what are the ICOs, how to create the ICO, and what does the crowdfunding mean, what is the difference between the ICO and the crowdfunding. We will be seeing everything in detail in the next few videos. But currently there are so many cryptocurrencies available. As you know, there are Bitcoin, Ethers, Litecoin, Zcash, Dash. There are so many cryptocurrencies are available, and each cryptocurrencies has their own use. So people have started using the cryptocurrencies for all their transactions and everything. So now I think you are clear about what the cryptocurrency is. It's nothing. It's a very simple virtual currency. That's all for doing some transactions. Now we are going to see how to convert your fiat currency to cryptocurrency, because this is also one of the main application many people are trying to develop. They want to create the private marketplace so people can use that for their transactions. So this private marketplace is nothing but something like your Western Union or something like your Remitly, Money Transfer, something like that, where you can transfer the money from one person to another person using their API as the middle layer. But here, similarly, you can allow the users to transfer. You can create your own wallet for the cryptocurrencies that allows the user to transfer the cryptocurrency from one user to another user. So that is also there. So let's see what is the use of this cryptocurrency to fiat currency transfer. Why do we need a wallet for this? Suppose, consider this is your payment wallet. This your payment wallet is provide the capability to transfer the cryptocurrency. What is this cryptocurrency from one cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency? This you can do. Say for example, Bitcoin to Ethereum. You can do that. or you can say Litecoin to Zcash. You can do that. So you can create something like this, the wallet, so people can exchange their one cryptocurrency to other cryptocurrency, or you can have the fiat currency to cryptocurrency transaction, which means if a person wants to buy say 20 20 bitcoins, so you can have the wallet, um, so if they want to buy, you can integrate this with the payment gateways. So what happens is when a user has made the payment, you will be showing what is the rate, what is the total amount the user needs to be paid for the 20 bitcoins. And then once the payment is processed, then these 20 bitcoins are being transferred to the user's address, user's bitcoin or litecoin, whatever address they want. So you can create this kind of transactions, sorry, not the transaction, but this kind of applications. Or one more thing is a fiat to cryptocurrencies. Suppose you are having the cryptocurrencies, say Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, and you wanted to sell your cryptocurrencies. When you sell, you want the money to be deposited to your bank account. So which means it's like a private marketplace. You are exchanging your cryptocurrencies for the fiat currencies, or you are selling or buying the cryptocurrency with the fiat currency. So this kind of applications we can create. This is the simple and the basic application that people usually create with the cryptocurrency. So what does the fiat currency mean? Fiat currency is nothing but which is controlled by the government, or you can say the US dollars, rupees, pound, euro. So those are all comes under the fiat currencies, which means the transaction can be controlled by the government, and it can be used for the exchanges, for the stock exchange, for everything people use the fiat currencies. So the cryptocurrency, as I said, is a virtual machine, so you can convert your cryptocurrencies, fiat currency to the cryptocurrencies, as well as the vice versa. And we are going to see what are the steps we need to do to convert your fiat currency to the cryptocurrencies, and what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Everything we are going to see in the following PPTs. Okay, so in the next PPT, we are going to see what are the steps we need to do while converting your fiat currencies to the cryptocurrencies. The first step is you need to create a wallet. There are because the wallet is nothing but where people can use that. Don't think wallet is something different. It's like a basically you can call that as a UI part. So people can use that UA for doing the transaction. There are three ways to use the wallet. People can either go for the web-based wallet is the one thing, which means you're going to create your own wallet. Then second one is a standalone wallet, which means you can use the already existing Ethereum wallet or the Bitcoin core wallets. So mist wallet, you can use that for your transactions. Otherwise we can become a miner and mine the blocks, and then the amount will be deposited, or the cryptocurrency will be deposited in your account. So there are three ways to maintain your cryptocurrency wallet. So hope you are very clear with the three ways. It's very simple. The web-based wallet is generally we create the web-based wallet. We as a developer will never go for the standalone or become a miner. We generally create the web-based wallet using your JavaScript APIs, and then that do all kind of transactions. So that allows you to do all kind of transactions. So the web-based wallet is the best. I mean, if you have the capability and the time to create the web-based wallet, it's going to be a very good option. So you can add all your scenarios, all your options, whatever you want to be in your application, you can add it in your web-based wallet. If it is standalone wallet, you are going to use already what the Ethereum is providing, or what the Bitcoin is providing. So you're not going to create anything. So you'll be, if you go for the Ethereum wallet, you will be having a main account, and then you'll be having so many accounts. So it's like a mixed wallet. It's like a wallet where you can have your addresses, and it shows how much of the tokens are remaining in your account and everything. So you can either go for the standalone or become a miner. So when a miner will get the amount, So the miners are nothing but the miners are responsible for creating the blocks. You know, when suppose a block has been created and a data is already inserted into the block, say a transaction data is already inserted into the block, then the next work of the miner is to create the next consecutive block. So whoever is creating the next block by either by solving the mathematical problem or the complex algorithm or by using this proof of stake method. So there are so many ways you can become a miner, or you can mine the block either using the proof of stake method, or you can solve the complex mathematical problem, or you can solve using the algorithms, so complex algorithm, and whoever is solving the first on the proof of concept, then they will be they will be mining the block, and the mining amount will be deposited in their account. If not, if it is the proof of stake, whoever is having the highest stake in that particular chain, they will be in the particular peer, they will be having the highest chance to mine the block, and they will be having the what do you say, the amount will be deposited in their account. So these are the three ways where people can mine their blocks, I mean not mine their blocks, but to create the cryptocurrencies, not to create but to maintain the cryptocurrencies. The next thing, see, once you have created the wallet, say you already created a good UI based. You either you created or you're going for standalone. That's different. You have a wallet. Say now a person wants to register on your wallet. Say a user wants to register on to make the transactions using your UI part. So when you are registered, the first step is sorry here when the user registers, the first step is we need to do is KYC. KYC in the sense, know your customer. Because when our user is making the transactions, we need to make sure that he or she is the right person to do the transaction. That's the main reason to go for the KYC. Usually this KYC is the manual verification. You can go for automated verification, but still we need to add so many clauses and rules for that. But simply we can go for the manual verification. We will ask the user to submit some documents, and like their voter ID or their driving license, or some kind of proof of document, and then we can validate whether the whatever the user has submitted is the same as we have, and then we can validate. Once he or she the thinks is a legitimate user, then we allow the user to sign up. So once he sign up, he can access this wallet. So this is the first step while creating your I mean this is the second step after creating your wallet, or after designing your wallet. The second step is the know your customer. So the next important thing in while designing your fiat or cryptocurrency private marketplace like wallet or the application is, you should allow the user to link their bank accounts. So for doing the money transfer, so you can either use the payment gateways, you can link with the UI part. So there are so many options, so many ways we can do. We can link our payment gateways, or you can use the you can create your own payment gateway and link that payment gateway in your to your UI. So we can this is the next important step. And then once the person is successfully registered, then you should allow the person to do the exchange. They can convert their fiat currencies into the cryptocurrencies, or they can do whatever the transactions they wanted to do with their with your wallet, or with your UI, or with your application. So this is the main steps we have. One is the web-based wallet, then know your customer, and then link the customers. The next thing is we need to see, like if you are using the standalone wallet, you have to download the standalone wallets, and the previously whatever I told is for the your own wallets. If you're creating your own UI wallets or your own application for doing the cryptocurrency to fiat currency exchange. If not, if you want to use the standalone wallet, then you can install your wallet like a Mist wallet or Bitcoin Core wallets. You can install that wallet on your laptop, and then similarly you can link your bank accounts and you can do the transactions. or to become a miner, you have to set up your machine for do the settings on your machine for doing the mining. So those are all like a basic steps that we need to do while converting or while designing the application to convert the fiat currencies to the cryptocurrency. So these are all the main steps that we need to follow. The next important concept is we need to see is Bitcoin to Ethereum exchange, which can be seen in the next video. So in the last video, we have seen about the cryptocurrency as well as the network. And now we are going to see about the Bitcoin and the Ethereum. What is the difference between the Bitcoin and the Ethereum? Bitcoin and Ethereum are the reason why we are discussing it here is these two cryptocurrencies are very famous cryptocurrencies. People people are talking about the cryptocurrency or about the blockchain technologies because of these two Bitcoin and the Ethereum cryptocurrencies or the frameworks. So we are going to see what is the major difference between these two. So this Bitcoin was initially created by Satoshi Nakamoto and it was released, the first released on the 2008. Sorry. Satoshi has written a white paper on this Bitcoin, and that white paper is really very, very interesting white paper, and it has so many information. So probably in one of our class or in one of our video, we are going to see about that white paper also, what it does and what is the actual logic behind the Bitcoin and how they have created the Bitcoin platform. Everything is it's very clearly explained in that white paper. So we will be seeing about that white paper in if time permits in one of our class in one of our video. Then Ethereum is developed by Vitalik. So Ethereum it's very recently developed product because there are some drawbacks in the Bitcoin because Bitcoin is mostly used for digital currency exchange. But if you see the Ethereum, it is not only for digital currency exchange, but more than that. You can have your own smart contracts. You can create the smart contract, and you can deploy that smart contract in the Ethereum network and the EVM. The smart contract will be run on the Ethereum virtual machine and you can execute your smart contract. There are so many stuff we can do in the Ethereum more than the digital currency, just dealing with the digital currency. But Bitcoin is fully dealing with the digital currency only. So the Bitcoin is mostly worked on the proof of work consensus protocol. So proof of work, as I already said, the blocks are being created with the concept of mining. Whenever person or whenever the miner is mining the network, he will be creating the new blocks and by solving either the complex algorithms or the mathematical problem. So that is where your proof of work is came into picture. So the Bitcoin is working on the proof of work consensus protocol. Ethereum is also working on the proof of work consensus protocol, but now they are planning to move for proof of stake. The reason for moving for proof of stake is what happens in proof of stake is a transaction is approved or the block is mined when 51%, that is more than 50% of the stakeholders accepted the transactions or the block mining process. So which means just consider if it is a 5-peer network or just consider if it is a 5-peer network, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-peer network and each peers are connected with one another. So if it is a 5-peer network, it's easily. So which means like about 3 persons, 3 peers, 3 stakeholders in the network needs to approve the transaction. But in the real time, there will be many peers. Say some 3 million peers on the network. Then you cannot say say 150 million, more than 150 million needs to approve the transaction. So they will be approving only when the transaction is the right transaction. If it is a wrong or the mind or the attacked blocks or the transactions, it is not easily approved by 150 million peers. Sorry, 3 million, right? So 1.5 million, sorry, my bad. 1.5 million peers. So that is why the proof of stake is considered to be a very secured and very good compared to the proof of work. So Ethereum is planning to move towards the proof of stake and they are working on that. Probably by this year, I think they will be releasing the product they will be releasing will be based upon the proof of stake. So then the cryptocurrencies, the Satoshi is the highest denomination, I can say, that is the Bitcoin. Satoshi is the highest denomination in the Bitcoin part, and Ether is the highest in the Ethereum part. Similarly, we have the lowest, like what do you say, Vinay. So there are also lowest cryptocurrencies also. So the Bitcoin is working on the SHA-256 algorithm, but Ethereum is working on ETH hash. ETH hash is the algorithm or the cryptocurrency algorithm that is we are using at the back end for creating the transactions and everything. So the block time, so the Bitcoin, this is a very important point. The Bitcoin block time for creating the new block or for mining the transaction, for approving the transaction, everything is more than, so it will take about 10 minutes, but Ethereum is very, very fast. It is about in a few seconds, it will mine the block or it will create the new block or it will create the new transactions. Everything will be very, very, it's very fast. So this is the mining methodology. What is the mining methodology they are using is ASIC miners, and this is using the GPUs. So we will be seeing ASIC miners as well as the GPUs in detail about the coming videos. So I will just pass this part because we need to discuss a lot about the ASIC miners. What does the ASIC means? What it will do, and we will be deciding. We will be discussing more about this ASIC and the GPU. So just keep this as a part. And the scalable Bitcoin is not scalable, but Ethereum is scalable. Yes, you can extend your Ethereum for your according to your application preference or whatever you want to develop based upon your preferences. You can extend your Ethereum part. It's very, very scalable, I can say. So this is the major or minor whatever, because some points are major and some points are minor. So this is the basic difference between your Bitcoin as well as uh, your Ethereum. The next thing we are going to see is what is the difference between the centralized and the decentralized network using the e-commerce application. See, this is the regular e-commerce application that we are currently using. Suppose if you are the user, if you want to purchase something on the say Amazon, so what happens is you're making the orders. So you will be having a order confirmation page. So once the order is confirmed, then you need to pay. So this order confirmation page will be in your Amazon or the server. Then you need to pay. Click on this pay. This pay will take you to the payment gateway. Once what happened at the back end is this payment gateway will send the request to the bank, and then bank will transfer the funds, and once the confirmation is done, once the transaction is done, then the confirmation is sent to the payment gateway whether it's a successful transaction or the failure transaction. Then the payment gateway will be sending it to the Amazon or your merchant server, and from there you will be getting the response. If it is the successful, you will be seeing the positive response like, oh, thank you for your order. Your order has been made and it will be shipped in these many days. You will get all the confirmation email. If suppose in the bank you are getting some negative response, say the website is not, the bank server is down, or there is no cash, or there is somehow it is refreshed and it is timed out. So those kind of situations, it will send some negative response to the payment gateway, and this negative response to the merchant server, it will go back to the user. So this is how your traditional e-commerce store is working. So in the e-commerce store, whenever you are making the online payments or online transactions, or not the transactions, what do you say? Online purchase. Yeah, purchase is the right word. So whenever you are making online purchases in the e-commerce example, I can say. So this is how your process will be taking place at the back end. So like there are so many advantages here, disadvantages here. Someone can directly attack your merchant server. Someone can be, here you need to be trusting your payment gateway. because you will be sending all your confidential or credit card or debit card details, everything you are giving it to the payment gateway. So you need to um, what do you say, you need to believe this payment gateway people, and then you need to do the transactions. For doing the transactions, then the bank will be, some can attack the bank directly. So these are all the problems with your centralized application. So that is why we are thinking to go to a blockchain application or the decentralized application. So we can see how we can overcome the disadvantages in the centralized transaction and what we can do in the decentralized transaction. So this is the SaaS. It is a BaaS in the sense blockchain as a solution for the e-commerce. So here what happens is, whenever you are making that transaction, this transaction is, or making some orders, this transaction or the orders will be represented in a block or be stored in a block. So what happens is, this block will be communicated to all peers in the network. So once this block is all peers in the network, then when it is approved, the transaction is approved, then this block will be added to the blockchain. Then once the block is added to the blockchain, from your user account, the money will be sent to the merchant's account. So this is a very simple. This is where our escrow services are also coming into picture. We will be implementing one e-commerce example in our videos. In our coming videos, we will be seeing the example for the e-commerce application, how this flow is actually uh, taking place, or how this transaction is actually flowing from orders to changing it to the block, and then how the block is broadcasted to all the party in the network. And once they are all approved, the block will be added to the blockchain. Once the blockchain has been created, then the payment will be moved from your account to your merchant's account directly. So this is a very, very interesting scenario that we will be seeing in our coming videos. So that's all about our e-commerce application. So we will see. And one more thing is, here there is no decentralized server, so you don't have to worry about the centralized server. So you don't have to worry that something will be failing, etc. So yes, we have covered about the, let's have a quick overcap of whatever we have covered till now. We have seen about the network. So in the network, we have seen like what are the types of network that are available, what is about the what the World Wide Web is all about, and what is the peer-to-peer transaction is. And we have seen what is the centralized, distributed, and the decentralized network. And then we have understand about the distributed ledger, why we went for the distributed ledger, and what is the disadvantages of distributed ledger, and what is the advantage of moving to the decentralized ledger. So we have seen that part. And then we move to the cryptocurrencies application. In the cryptocurrency application, we see what is the cryptocurrency, and we have seen what are the steps we need to follow while converting your cryptocurrencies to the fiat currencies. We have seen what is the fiat currency, what is the difference between the fiat currency and the cryptocurrencies, and we have seen what are the steps like know your customer, how to create your wallet, how to become a miner, how to use the standalone wallets and all. Then we have seen about what is the difference between your Bitcoin and the Ethereum, why people are using these two on a large scale, what are the advantages of Bitcoin and what are the advantages, not like advantages, what is the mainly Bitcoin do, what does the Ethereum do mainly. And then we have seen about the e-commerce application, what is the current e-commerce application and how it is working on the centralized server for making the centralized transaction, and how we can overcome the problems in the centralized transaction, and how we can move to the decentralized transactions. So these things we have covered in our set of videos. Hope these videos are really interesting videos for you guys, and we will see about the remaining uses of the blockchain, applications of the blockchain. Everything we will be seeing in the remaining sections. Thank you. So now we are going to see how actually a mining or a block is actually created in the blockchain, and how the users interaction, or basically I can say how actually the blockchain works. So here whatever is there as this one, so these are all called as a nodes. So if you see like a point, so these are all called as a nodes. So nodes or peers I can say, where all our transactions uh, will be replicated or propagated to all the peers in the network. So these are all called as a nodes in our network. So the user is also one of the node. Suppose whenever a user is wanted to make the transaction, so say if you want to make a transaction, he should have a wallet. Either in our previous class, in a previous video, I have seen there are three ways you can go for a wallet. Either you can become a miner, or you can create your own wallet with the UI based wallet, or you can have the standalone wallet like Ethereum wallet or Bitcoin wallet. So this is how the user is first having his wallet. So for every transaction he is making, he should have the associate private key as well as the public key. So whatever the transaction he makes, the pub with his private key and the public key. For every public key, the private key is equal to the password. So whenever the transaction is made, the transaction needs to be signed. So signed by the private keys. So when the transaction is signed, what happens is the transaction will be propagated to all the nodes in the network. Suppose see the transaction is propagated to first these two nodes in the network, and then what happens? The transaction will be sent to or broadcasted to all other nodes in the network. So in this way, what happens is every node in the network will have the copy of the transaction. So that is why we will say the blockchain is the safest, because you can make changes, or attacker can make changes in one node, probably in two nodes, or probably in three nodes, but not all the nodes in the network. So it is not possible to make the changes on all the nodes in the network. So that is why the blockchain is called as a very secure and very good thing. So once this part is done, when the user has created the transaction or signed the transaction, now what happened is then the flow comes to the miner. Then the work of the miner is started. So what the miner will do is he will collect all the transactions. All the transactions will be collected. So with this transaction, he will try to create a hash. Hash in the sense a very secured cryptographic value he will be created for a block. See, that is what a block. These transactions are initially called as unverified transaction. Unless miner has completed all the verification, until then your transaction will be in the unverified transaction state or unconfirmed transaction. So this is what the next step is. So the miner will collect all the transactions in the block. Then he will try to create the hash for that block. When the hash is created, this block will be equivalent to your nth block. The nth block will be created. Now next step is he will add the block headers. So what the block headers will have is the previous hash, that means the n minus 1th hash. So it will have the previous hash, the n minus 1th hash, the nonce value, and then this transaction value, and then he will be having the timestamp. So all these values will be stored in your the miners will be doing. So in this block header, all these values will be stored. Now when this is done, then what happens is a new block is created. So this block is now broadcasted to all the nodes. So then this block will be added to your blockchain, the virtualized blockchain. Your block will be added to your virtualized blockchain. So this will be your nth block. So now hope you understand how the concept is working, how your blockchain is working. So whenever this user is making the transaction, he will be having the private public key. With his private key, he will be signing the transaction. When the transaction is signed, it will be broadcasted to all the nodes. Then the miner is the one who will collect all the transactions and keep it in a block, and for this block he will create the hash, and with this hash, once this is done, then he will add the block headers, so which means your block is now ready to be added to your blockchain. Once this block is ready, then this block will again be broadcasted to the network, and then it would be added to your virtual block, virtual blockchain. Your block will be added as the end block. So this how a miner will be creating a block or creating the transaction is based upon the proof of work concept, because he will solve some mathematical problem or complex algorithm, uh, and then and then he will try to create a hash so that no one can modify or change that particular block. So that is how miners will be doing. So for doing all this work, miners are spending some computational power, because see, you are making a transaction. When someone is making a transaction, why miners should spend time, should spend the computational power, should spend his energy, everything to solve a problem or to create a new block. Why he is doing? Because he will be rewarded by the what do you say, ethers, or some, he will be rewarded with something, some ethers or some cryptocurrencies. So that is why the miners are doing this work. Unless then, or else no one can freely do anything, right? Because they are spending lot of time, their power, their energy, and everything to create a new block. So for their time, some rewards will be stored in the miner's account. So this is how the basically your blockchain is working. So hope the concept of the blockchain is clear now. So probably in the next videos we will see about the Anders website as well as the blockchain info website, which will give more information about our how the block is. We can visualize about the blocks. So now in this tutorial, in this video, we are going to see about two things. Two blockchain websites. The reason for showing or discussing about these websites here is we will get a better understanding of how the blockchain is, how it is working. So we will get a better understanding of that. It's like a virtually you can see the block. It's virtually like making you to understand this is how your block looks like, and this is how the transaction flows, this is how a particular data is propagated through your peers. So you will know, you can visualize. It's like a visual representation of how your blocks are. So today we are going to see about the blockchain info site and then Anders site. So these two sites are very interesting site. So probably we can look into each and everything on these site. So the blockchain info, the thing is we can see about the confirmed transaction. There are, whenever you're making a transaction, it is in the unconfirmed state initially, and once the miner mines it and your block is added to the blockchain, then your transaction will be a confirmed transaction. And then we are going to see what is the largest transaction all about, and then what is a strange and double spend transaction, what are all called as orphaned blocks. So we are going to see everything about all these concepts in the blockchain info, probably in another few minutes. So this unconfirmed and confirmed is very very interesting. So we will be seeing everything, and in Anders website you will be knowing like what the hash is, what is all about the block, what does the blockchain mean or how it is created, what is the distributed means, what is the token, and what about the Coinbase. So these stuffs we are going to see in the Anders. So let's go to the website and and look about all these concepts now. So this is called as the Anders website. So in this Anders website, you can see the four things here. You will be knowing about, see, the hash, the block, the blockchain, the distributor, token, and Coinbase. So what is the hash? So now we are in this phase called hash. The hash is nothing but for your data. See, for your data, or not for your data, I can say for some algorithm, you are giving the data as the input and you are getting some encrypted value or hash value. So this hash, the reason for generating the hash is so that your data, no one can predict what is there in the network, what you are actually transforming. For example, if you say hello, and if this hello is transferring just like that to the end system or end user, then anyone, say a third party member, can attack and can manipulate the data and can change, say hello instead of hello, you can manipulate, you can just remove this hell. If you send hell, the meaning is different, right? So that is why we don't want our data to be viewed while doing the transactions. So that's why we are going to encrypt the data. So that is the reason for going for the hash. So there are so many ways, there are so many algorithms are available for doing this hash. The one thing in the Andes demo is you can see SHA-256, which means for every input, your algorithm will generate 256 bits output or 32 bytes. 256 bits or 32 bytes. So that is what this hash is. So for every whatever the input you are giving, so it will generate a 32 byte hash value or 256 bits of the hash value. Now let's see. I'm going to give the value as high. See, for high, this is the hash that is generated. So with this hash, we cannot predict, oh, this means high. Can you predict this? By decrypting this, if you decrypt this, unless you decrypt this, you cannot predict, okay, this hash is equal to high. No one can predict this. That is the reason for going for our encryption algorithm. There are so many encryption algorithms available, say SHA-256, SHA-3, MDA. Like AES. So there are so many hashing algorithms out there. But for our demo, we are using SHA-256 hash. One more important thing is, say for example, now the value is 8F434, right? Say again, I'm changing it to hello. So it gives 2CF2. Now again I'm going to say a hi. So it again gives the same hash. So what it means is your algorithm, the encryption algorithm or the cryptographic algorithm, whatever the data is, how many times you give the same output, same input, for the same input you will get the same output. There will be no change in the hash value. So that is also one of the thing you need to know, because there are some algorithms where it will randomly generate some output. For example, first time when you give high, it will generate one output. The second time when you give high, it will generate this another output. But for this, the Anders thing, so they are making sure that always only one input will be generated, for one hash will be generated for one input. So this is also important thing that we need to know. So now I think you are clear about the hash. Now let's talk about the block. So this is what our block is, as we have already said. For each block you will be having the block number, the nonce is nothing but some arbitrary number, some integer value. The data is nothing but your transaction data, and the hash means the previous hash. Suppose if we give hello. So for this hello data, the new hash will be generated. So do you understand? Do you observe that a green color is changed to red color, which means by default this is your block. Your block is like empty block. So whenever I'm going to change something on the block, which means that the block color is changed. So unless I create on mine, which means this block is mining, so it will take some time for this block to be mined. So once this block is mined, again the block will be changed to a green color, which means it's a good block. So now you understand your block will contain the block number, nonce, data as well as your hash. Now let's see what about the blockchain is, how the chain is being created. So this is what the block number 1, 2, 3 like that. For in this and this they have created 5 blocks, I think. Yes, they have created the 5 blocks. So the reason is like because this is just the demo, they want to make sure that everyone is understanding that demo. So that's why they have created something like this. So what happens is for every block you will be having the block number, the nonce, the data, previous hash. Since this is the first block is always the genesis block. So for the genesis block, your previous hash, there won't be any previous hash, so that is 0. So this is the hash of this block. So what happens is in the block number 2, this hash will become the previous hash. This hash will be mapped to your previous hash. So similarly, the consecutive chain will be created. This block number 2 hash will be the previous hash in the block number 3. So for each block, the nonce value is just the arbitrary value. It's just the unique random number that is generated for each block. So this is the unique number. So you can say that 2 blocks having same nonce. No, it is always unique. Suppose if I'm going to change, say I'm going to change the value here for the block number 2, say hi. So what happens is this, now it means that someone is trying to change or alter the block. So when I click on this mine, probably the block number 2 will be good, but block number 3, 4, 5, everything will be needs to be mined again. So this symbolically I can say, so this is the first block, this is the second block, this is the third block, and this is your fourth block. Suppose some person, say someone is trying to change the data on the block number 2, change or attack the block number 2, which means that now this block's previous hash is not equal to this block's previous hash. So the whole chain will be disrupted or disturbed. So what happens is, suppose if you are mining this one, you need to mine all the blocks. Then only a block will be like a good block will be added to your blockchain. See, now the block number 2 is fine. I changed the data. The block number 2 is fine. It is mine. So, but block number 3 is still not good because it still shows someone as mine because the previous hash is changed here. So what happens is you again need to mine all the blocks in the network, not on the network, on the node. So this will take some time. So similarly, block 4, block 5, everything you needs to mine. So since here there are only 5 blocks, we can easily mine. But in the real time, there will be so many blocks in the blockchain. So that is why it says as a security, you cannot mine all the blocks in the blockchain. It's really very difficult process. I cannot say it's impossible, but I can say it's a difficult process, or it's little bit difficult to mine everything. So this is how virtually your blocks in the blockchain will be. Next we are going to see about the distributed. Distributed in the sense we have seen. So a blockchain, a replica of the blockchain will be stored in all the pairs. So that is what. So here we have 3 pairs. Pair A, okay, let me scroll down. Pair A, pair B and pair C. So which means here we have 3 pairs. So what happens here is a replica of blocks are being stored in the 3 pairs. Suppose not the block, replica of the blockchain. See, this value 00012 or say BD84. The last 4 digits is BD84. Similarly, if you go block 2's last 4 digit is BD84. Similarly, say on the peer A. So similarly, block 2's last 4 digit of the hash is BD84 on the block B. Similarly, I can say the 4 digits is BD84 of the block 2 in peer C. So which means that all your blocks has been blockchains are replicated in all your peers. So this is how your the blockchain is. So it means like peer 1, peer 1, peer 2, peer 3. So peer 1 will have a set of blockchain, peer 2 will have a blockchain, peer 3 will have a copy of the blockchain. So these peers are interconnected. Suppose when user is making a transaction, what happens is the transaction T1, the miner will mine and create a new block and then add this block to say for example T1. So what happens is this P1 will propagate the information or broadcast the information to P2 and P3. So a new block is added to the blockchain in P2 and P3 as well. So that is what the basic representation of this. Suppose I am going to change the value here. Say hello. And I am going to mine this block. Similarly, I am going to mine all other blocks. So I am going to make this block, whatever the block in A is, the what you say it's with a new value. Suppose when someone, so now if you see the hash for block 2 is on the peer A is A48. Similarly, if you go down and then if you see peer B, it is not the A40, it is the previous hash because it is not at altered. So it is BD84 and down is also BD84. So whenever you are making the transactions, suppose if you want to make sure your data is not altered, so whenever you're trying to get the block, what the blockchain or the Ethereum or any blockchain do is it will first see the data in all the peers because now if you just compare peer A and B, we don't know whether peer A is altered or peer B is altered. So what happens is we will combine, we will because both are having different data, which means that some either A or B something is changed. So what happens is we will compare with all the blocks. We will compare with all the peers. We will compare the blockchain with all the peers, and then we will see okay which block is altered. We will get to know which block is altered. So while doing the validation or while getting the inputs or doing some operation, the whichever block is altered that will not be considered. So now say suppose here we are using block B and block A are there. We don't know which one has changed. So now we are going to consider block C also. Since block C's pair and block B's pair or hash are same, sorry, pair C's block 2 hash and pair B's block 2 hash are same, and so we can come to the conclusion that pair A is the one that is altered. So now while doing the blockchain, we will remove the pair A from, not like remove, we won't consider it pair A's block while doing the, sorry, just a second, while doing the transaction. So this is how, while doing the validation, we won't be considered block A. Oh, sorry, pair A. So hope you understand about the distributed thing. So next thing we are going to see is about the tokens. The token is nothing but see, for example, in our block, the transaction data it represents like how the data is transferred. Here they specified like a fiat currency, but originally it won't be the like a fiat currency type. It will be like a cryptocurrency. But just for our understanding, they have made like a fiat currency. So it means like this transaction will contain like actual transaction. Say suppose the Darcy is sending some $25 to Bingley. Elizabeth is sending some of $4, 4 point something to Jane. So which means that how you can do the transactions is you first need to have some tokens in your account, in your wallet. Then only we can make these kind of transactions. So nothing. So for each, so this is how your transaction data will be stored in the blockchain. So the next thing is we are going to, this is there is nothing much about here. So the next thing we are going to see is about the Coinbase. Coinbase is nothing but for our transactions usually you will be having the default address. So the default address is called as a Coinbase address. So suppose in your peer A, say suppose the address is having $100, which means that Coinbase address will now point to the Anders address. So it will now point to the Anders address and it is having the initially of 100 transactions. So since this is the first block, as I said, the Genesis block value will be 0 for this one. Now, so say in the next block is created. So in this next block, suppose the Anders is distributing his $100 to few members. Say for Sophia, he is giving $10. For Lucas, $20. For Emily, $30. For Madison, $15. Something like that. He is transferring. Suppose the reason for this kind of thing is suppose if you want to say, see, Emily is transferred some $5 to Madison, but you don't know whether Emily is having $5 and how is she making the transaction. You can go back and check for the blockchain and you can say, yes, Anders has already transferred $15 to Emily. So now Emily is having $15, which means Emily can transfer $10 to Jackson as well as another $5 to Madison. So this means like you are verifying your transactions. You are linking all your transactions and you are verifying the transaction. So this is what the Coinbase transactions are with your. So it will help you to either backtrack your transactions or you can what you say you can verify your transactions and everything you can do. So that is what the Coinbase transaction is. This is all about the Anders. Anders is explaining everything about what the hash is, how a hash is generated, and then so in the previous video we have seen about Anders.com. Now we are going to see or learn more into the another blockchain website called Blockchain Info. So the reason for getting into this Blockchain Info website is you will know what is the difference between the confirmed transaction and unconfirmed transaction. What does the largest transaction mean? What is the strange transaction? What are the double spend transactions? What are all the orphaned blocks? So we are going to see in detail about each and everything that we are having here. Let's go into the Blockchain Info website. So this is how your Blockchain Info website will look like. So here, this will give you the summary of the transactions. Suppose if I just say, okay, let's. So if you go here, wait, where is this one? Okay, Bitcoin status and all. Okay, this will tell about your transaction status. Here, if you see the unconfirmed transactions, the confirmed transaction versus unconfirmed transaction. When you say something is unconfirmed, it means the miners need to confirm that. So six transactions is six confirmations or minimum required to become to make the transaction a confirmed one. And this is also depends probably if for your requirement, if you want like a 10 transactions or 10 confirmations needed, we can set all those stuff. But here in the Bitcoins it says the six transactions or 6 confirmations are needed until your transaction become confirmed transaction. So until then, or the initially all transactions will be in the unconfirmed state. If you click on this unconfirmed transaction, it will tell you the status, like what are all the transactions which are still in the pending. So it will be automatically reloaded, loading the pages with all the pending transactions. So this is the difference between your confirmed and the unconfirmed transactions. So what do you mean by orphaned block? Orphaned block in the sense it doesn't have a parent. So a block which doesn't have a parent or it is detached from the main chain. So that is called as orphaned block. So this is like the reason for this is we have already in the next video we will be seeing about longest chain transaction, what longest chain rule. So in that longest chain rule, if two miners are going to mine the transaction at the same time, so then one minus block will be considered as the orphaned block. So it is not attached to the main chain. So those kind of transactions are called as the orphaned blocks. So this is also one of the concept. So next is the strange transactions. Strange transactions in the sense sometimes we are unable to decode from the output. We are unable to decode not from the output. We are unable to decode the output. We are unable to decode the address. We don't know whether that address, if you just use that address in the explorer, you couldn't find any transactions or you don't know whether that address is a valid address or not. So those kind of transactions which uses that different addresses or unknown addresses, they will come under the strange transactions. Next is the double spend. Double spend in the sense, usually double spend it's very difficult in the blockchain because as I said, for the confirmations you need 6 confirmations for the transaction to be confirmed transactions. So double spend will be, this kind of double spend problems will be avoided because you will be having some time for making or for getting the 6 confirmations. So in that time we will know whether this block has been double spended or not. So that kind of transactions will be automatically be in the unconfirmed transactions or will be the strange transactions. So double spend will be 0 in the blockchain. So I hope everyone knows about what the double spend is. That's why I'm not going deep into the double spend. If for beginners, let me explain in detail what this double spend means. Okay. Same. You're having your bank account. Okay, your bank account. So here, two persons are authorized, say husband and wife, both are having the authorized to access this bank account. So if suppose the initial balance is $100. Okay, now the wife is making the transaction of $50. So the remaining balance should be 50 in your account. At the same time, the husband is also making the transaction, say $60. So the remaining balance should be 40 in the account. But actually what happens is both husband and wife are doing a transactions at the same time. So one is doing the 50 transaction, another is doing the transaction for $60. But the actual amount that is there in the account is just the $100. So but now the amount is like $110. You're making, the husband and wife are making the transaction for $110. So what happens in the blockchain actually is, for this transaction to be updated or for this transaction to become the confirmed transactions, you need 6 confirmations. The miners will do the 6 confirmations. So while doing the 6 confirmations, it will take some time. So you cannot say that both are doing at the same time. So in this transaction, one is going to be succeed and another is going to be rejected. That's why this is how the double spend problems is it's really difficult to occur in the blockchain. So that's why if you see here, it's a zero double spend problem. So this is also one of the important concepts that we need to learn. Next is the largest transaction. So about this largest transaction, we are going to see what is the longest chain rule, what is the largest transaction. This is very simple. Like from one address, they are making multiple transactions, so you can get to know what is the largest transaction. From the name itself, we can find it. Now, say here you can find the using the block number. You can just scroll to any block number and find. Say I'm using the block number 0. As I said, the block number 0 is your first block. So this is a genesis block. So your previous transaction hash will be 00 because you don't have any previous block. So that this is the newly generated hash for this block. And then the next block hash is also they are storing, and they are storing the data in the Merkle tree format. So the reason for storing the transaction data in the Merkle tree format is no one can understand that one. See, this was actually created in 2009. So very long back this block was created. Similarly, you can give any block. Say I'm giving a okay 104 block. Let's see what is this. See, this has the previous transaction, this has the current block's hash, and what will be the next block, and what is the Merkle tree format. So everything you will find in this blockchain. So we can not be like you can go deep into this website and learn many more concepts. Hope you understand the reason why we went for the blockchain info or Anders website. So we will get the clear idea about what we can do, or what needs to be done, or how the blockchain is actually working. We will get the visual representation of our blockchain. Hello everyone. So today's in our section we are going to see few more concepts. Say what is the Bitcoin address? What are the formats available in our Bitcoin address? What does longest chain rule mean? What is the mining algorithm mean? And how mining is actually done? And what are the open sources available in the for creating a blockchain or on the blockchain technology? So the first important thing that we are going to see is the Bitcoin address. The Bitcoin address is nothing but it is uniquely used to identify an account. So this is very important thing. Oh, sorry. Yep. So this is very important thing because as we already know, our address will be of the 32 bytes alphanumeric characters. But the Bitcoin address is not like a 32 bytes, but it is variable from 26 to 35 bytes. So this address is uniquely, as I said, it's uniquely used to identify your account either at the exchange or on your wallet. So what are the different types of address Bitcoin address formats that are available is there are two type of formats that are available. The some Bitcoin addresses starts with number 1 and some Bitcoin addresses starts with number 3. If the address starts with number 1, it means that it is related to pay to public key, which means it is your account address. The user's account address will generally start with number 1. There is one more address called pay to script, which means that if your address is it is the address of your script file or your smart contract or your escrow service. So those addresses will be starting with number 3. So this is the major difference between the two address formats that are available in the Bitcoin address. Now we are going to see about one more important concept in the blockchain called longest chain rule. So this is the very basic question you will be encountered in many interviews. So people can ask you what does it mean by longest chain rule and how it works. So we are going to see about the longest chain rule. So the longest chain rule in the sense the concept is very simple to understand. So as we know in the blockchain, the blocks will be created. The miners are responsible for creating your n blocks. Say this is the miner 1. So there are so many miners will be available. So this is the miner 2. So there are so many miners are available in our network for creating the blockchain. Suppose the miner 1 is going to create one block. The miner 2 is also going to create the block. Both blocks are created at the same time. And this is your blockchain. Say B1, B2, block number 2, B3. So B4. Now, so both are creating the block number 5, B5. So since both miners are going to create at the same time, what happens is these two blocks will be added here. So now your new block will be B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B5. So this is what now your new block is. Suppose now the algorithm needs to find the next block. Now this block has been created. This block has been added to the blockchain and it is created. Suppose say another miner is there and he is responsible for creating the block number B6. Now he created the block B6 and he is going to add block B6 in one of the forks. So now from B4 there are two forks are available. So say in one of the fork he is going to add block number B6. So now what happened to our transaction is now this block is called become the valid block. Not it doesn't mean that this is the invalid block, but this becomes the unconfirmed transaction. So whatever transactions are there in this block 5 will be called as unconfirmed transactions. So it is not ruled or it is not taken out from the blockchain, but it is called as a unconfirmed transactions. So now our block will be like B1, B2 till B4 and then you will be having B5, B6. Okay, this one more is B5. So what happens is this B5 is this block become the unconfirmed transaction and whatever block here we have is become the right block. Whenever suppose the another miner is going to create the new block B7, this is added next to your or B7 B6 block. So now this block whatever we have added is become the confirmed or longest chain block. So this is what the longest chain rule is. So let me see what I have written here so you can understand better. See, as I said, there are already n blocks and if two miners are both going to find the valid block and broadcast that to the network. Now each block will be having n plus 1. So that's what I said, B5. So initially there are 4 blocks in our network and 2 miners are going to find the next block B5. So n plus 1, the B5th block, each of the B5th block will be added and now there will be 2 forks. So some Bitcoin nodes will see the first minus block and some nodes will see the second minus block naturally because the both things are added. So now if you see there are two forks are added. So each of the length n plus 1 which means the B5 blocks. 2 forks are being added. Now when another miner is trying to add and trying to place the new block here, he will find exactly one of the forks. And then he will try to add that block to the one of that forks. So now what happened is that whichever block is trying to add that sorry this one So it means that so you'll be added to one of the forks. So which means that alternate forks is not going to disappear, but it will be simply put in the pool of unconfirmed transactions. So hope you got what does it mean by. So say this is the longest chain rule. This is the example that I have shown you before. So block 78, 79, 80. Now the three miners are subsequently going to find or going to mine these three blocks at the same time. So what happens is now the three forks, fork number 1, fork number 2 and fork number 3 forks are created. So the next time the another miner needs to create a new block and add the block to this blockchain. So he is going to add the block to say some fork. So now what happens is this block becomes the longest chain block. So this is the main important thing. This is what about the longest chain block mean. So hope you all understand the concept of the longest chain block. In our previous videos, we have seen about the Bitcoin address format. We have seen what is the longest chain rule mean in the blockchain. So how the longest chain was formed. So everything we have seen. Now we are going to see about the mining. So we are actually going deep into the mining concept. We will be learning the architecture of mining and everything. So first, what is the mining? Mining is a way where you are going to create a new block in the blockchain. So this block, whatever block you have created will be automatically added to the blockchain, and this block will contains the block parameters like or block properties I can say, like your previous hash, your timestamp nonce and everything. So this block is created using the consensus mechanism where neither party knows or trusts each other. So consensus mechanism is nothing but you're going to create something in the environment, but you don't know anything about the party or you're not going to trust anyone. You are just going to create something either using your proof of work or proof of concept, and your smart contract is the only trusting uh, party, not the party I can say, but it's the code. The smart contract is the code where we are going to trust. We are not going to trust anyone either in the network or in the architecture or in the what do you say? We are not actually going to trust anyone. So it's a trustless network. So how the block is actually created? So this is what the block, the flow is actually. So whenever the block needs to be created, the algorithm will start from here. So which means our block is going to be, we need a block that needs to be created. Then once the block is created, we will calculate the set of hash, the transactions. We will keep all the transactions in one bucket, and then we will get the previous blocks hash, and then we'll have the nonce and everything. So the previous block hash is also given as the input. So you mean there are two things. One is the set of transactions as well as the previous block. Everything will be given as new input. So when we give this as the input to the algorithm, not like algorithm, like either to the miners. So because as I said previously, there are two ways: proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work is nothing but solving a complex algorithm, but proof of stake is based upon your stakeholders' capacity. We are going to create a new block. So this is the proof of work. If it is a proof of work, we are going to solve the algorithm and a new block hash is computed. So once this block hash is computed, so for every block, there is a target value or difficulty value will be already set. So if this hash is less than the difficult value, then your block you will be creating your block. If not, let me just minimize this a bit. Okay. Okay, this is I think pretty much visible because this part is not visible on the next screen. So when your computer hash is a little bit less than the target value, then yes, congratulations, your block has been created. But see, no, yours is not less. At the same time, if another miner has found a suitable hash, then you will be getting a sorry, the block is created by someone else. If not, then again you will try. You will increment the nonce value and again you will try. So this algorithm is the repetitive process. So this is how our block has been created. This is what the mining technique actually involved in creating of the block. So you will be having the set of transactions as well as the previous hash, and these two will be given as the input to your algorithm, and you will be solving that algorithm and going to create a new block. So this is the hash of the new block, and this hash is less than the target value, then good, your block is being created. If not, if at the same time if another miners find the block, then you will be getting a then you lost your chance of creating the block. If not, again this is the iterative process, this will repeat again and then you will create a new block. So the next thing we are going to learn about the open sources that are available for creating your blockchain. So we have Ethereum, Hyperledger, Eris, and there are so many other open sources. First, let's see Ethereum. Ethereum is a very famous product, very famous open source blockchain platform. This is created by the Ethereum Foundation. I think it is released on 2014 or 2015. So it's very new platform. But many companies are focusing on the Ethereum side because this is the permissionless blockchain platform. The next is the Hyperledger. Hyperledger, as we already discussed, I'm not sure whether we have discussed or not. Okay, probably in future we will be discussing about the Hyperledger also. So this Hyperledger is created by the Unix Foundation and it is supported by many companies, say IBM. There are so many set of companies which are supported this project. So this very recently is released. So we will be developing our applications on Ethereum and few applications on Hyperledger. The major difference between the Ethereum and the Hyperledger is Ethereum it's open source, permissionless technology, and whereas Hyperledger is for the permissioned uh, platform. Like say if you want to create a blockchain that needs to be viewed only by the set of people or only by within the community, then we go for the Hyperledger. Then Eris Industries, this is the tool to manipulate Ethereum or Bitcoin or any or to create any independent blockchain. So mostly to build the private network. So we will be discussing everything in detail about all these technologies in our future. But this is just for the reference to get an idea about the blockchain technologies or blockchain platforms that we have. But we will be seeing everything in detail. We will be seeing the Ethereum, how to create the dApps, what are the smart contracts, how to deal with the Web3, how to deploy the application either to the main network or to the private network or to the public network, or to the test network, how to create the public network, private network, how to create the peer-to-peer network or the mesh network. So everything regarding the Ethereum we are going to see. Once the Ethereum is done, then we will jump into the Hyperledger, and in this Hyperledger also we are going to see how to create the channels, how to create the orders. We are going to see each and everything in the Hyperledger too. And at last, finally, we are going to look about the Eris Industries. We are going to see how to manipulate the Ethereum or Bitcoin functionalities, how to create our own independent blockchain. Everything we will be seeing in detail. So hope you enjoyed this set of videos. So let's have a quick recap of what we have seen. So we have seen about the Bitcoin addresses. We have seen the type of addresses we have in the or type of the different formats we have in the Bitcoin address. We have seen that. Oh, so then we look into the longest chain rule. So we saw like what does the longest chain rule mean, and how to create the application. I mean, not like application, but what is the longest chain rule, when the longest chain rule will be evolved. And we have seen like what happens when happens to the remaining folks and all. We have seen so many stuff, and then we looked deep into the mining, and then we saw the mining architecture, what is the original architecture, how the blocks has been created. And then we look into the open source technologies, what are the open source technologies that are available nowadays. So this is all about the blockchain that we have seen in this set of videos.